Yeah, I mean, when the accountants are monitoring children, then you know that this is really becoming a child-focused organization, that it really is about everyone focused on the children, including the accountants. So there are two tools here that we use to assist with this question of how do we assist people to transition? How do we help people move from here to here? And these tools are more for the awareness builder for leadership, as well as, the facilitators, the change facilitators are very much aware of these tools. They don't tell people, this is what we're doing, per se, but they're just aware of this. And Lydia has a great example. You're going to talk about the ADP manager who's very mad, very angry? Okay. So this model is a behavioral model. It basically says, okay, the program manager is here currently, and we want to move them to this new place. So first of all, the question is, have you heard? Are you aware? I mean, communication plays a huge role for people to hear about this particular change. Then they need time to internalize it, to understand it. What does this mean? What does this really mean? So there's dialogue around it. I mean, the first one can be done perhaps through an email or communication, but this involves dialogue and feedback and discussion. And it's really about convincing the person, yeah, this makes sense. This is about understanding, it's about communication. The first three steps, if you can communicate very clearly for this program manager, okay, this is what the change is, this is why we have to move from here to here, and this is why, this is the logic. The person then has a basis to say, I support this change, or I agree, this makes sense. Or even, I don't agree with this, I'm an accountant, I don't want to monitor children, and I'm going to work with CRS and in a job that doesn't require me to do this. I mean, people make a choice here. This is about putting your foot in the water, right? It's about testing it. Where's my child monitor? Oh, she left, okay. Oh, she's intimidated by her new role. This is where you start to test it, you start to use it, but this is the ultimate goal, use. If people are using the child monitoring tool on a day-to-day basis effectively, then we can declare success. This is ultimately our goal. We want people to own it, but if people are using it, then that's sufficient. Let me give an example. If we're becoming a juggling organization, I can say, did you all just hear that we're becoming a juggling organization? Okay. Do you understand why? Well, there's too many things going on. We need to learn how to juggle. We need to be able to juggle different priorities. Do you agree? Does that make sense? Okay. But, until people are, picking up the balls and trying, maybe they're dropping the ball, or orange a little bit. But ultimately, you want this, right? I mean, if we're becoming a juggling organization, people have to know how to juggle, right? If we're about child monitoring, and that's, monitoring of children, and that's core, because World Vision is about child well-being outcomes, then people need to use the tools. So it's the use that we're after. Now, this is behavioral. This is pretty mechanistic. You want people to move along here. Let me just mention one thing. The first is about communications, as I said. The next three steps are about management. Is my manager requiring me to juggle? Does my manager know how to juggle? If we're becoming a juggling organization, are people actually juggling? This is about management, and Lydia has some good stuff about that from Kenya, so I'll let her talk about that. This model basically is an awareness that this is an emotional journey. So for the Scots who, the bad example of them having to put their kilts in the bin and move on, that you can't sort of expect people to go from here to here. 5 minutes.
Okay. So how did we help our manager to transition? How did we help this team from here? That is basically the manager, the accountant, and the DF transition. What process did we go with them through? And as Andrew has said, at the beginning, our manager had, because this change was actually coming. After the launch, what World Vision did, we decided to choose two ADPs to implement the change, to implement the new way of the step process, gathering information, utilizing it, and all that. And one of the managers was approached. And that was at the hearing stage, because at the solution build, he was just hearing. He's hearing this is happening somewhere in national office in Karen. So he was like, it has got nothing to do with me, I'm doing my own stuff. Now after his ADP was chosen, the director, who is now the sponsor here, wrote an email down to him and said, blah, 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 you are required to come into the meeting, for orientation, this is communicated to you, you understand what you're going on and what you're going to implement at your ADP. He came. He just came for the sake of, one of those meetings you're coming to attend. So then he came, he heard what was it, the change about the new step processes, what's going to happen, and that his ADP has been chosen. Then he went back to the program. Now the team of the change practitioners, the change agents that were actually going to work with him through this journey so that he implements the new step processes and then it is evaluated and the report is written on, went now to meet him. What happened the very first day? He refused to talk to them. And he had been talked to by his boss here. So he actually realized that this is actually happening and he was really, really angry. And because the team that we were working with had gone through this change process, they knew the emotional journey. They were patient with him. They actually took them 3 hours to convince the manager alone. The whole morning session, the manager only agreed to call the rest of the staff, who are basically the accountant, the sponsorship officer, at 2. That was the time now they were now like talking, because all this time he was very, very annoyed. But you people, you're bringing for me new things. It is in the middle of implementation period. We are closing the year. We have all these things happening. How do you expect me to bring these others? And you're changing my JD? Then he was told, ideally, your new JD is this. I was like, what? That does mean I have to do my new performance agreement? You said, yes, you have to do it. And you have to do it with who? With your sub-branch manager, whose JD has already changed. So this thing really, really sank. And the team had to really be very patient with him until he walked. He listened, and now he got to accept that, okay, fine. Now this burning platform is too hot, I just have to jump in. And the good thing that we thank God for, he jumped in with the rest of his team. And at the end, because this was being done within a 30-day period, at the end of the 30-day period, there was a report that was supposed to be brought from his ADP, and he was the one supposed to give that report, how this implementation went, and what are the lessons that were learned. Now, when he came for that meeting, we also had invited the rest of the IPS, about 6 of them, because we want to implement it in different phases. As he said, I think there's the different phases of launching. So we launched in the first 2, then we are launching in the second 2. Now we are going to, to the second 6. Then we launched to the entire. We have like 63 programs, ADPs. So we started with 2. Then now we are now doing 8. In this period, we have actually launched it in 8. So that meeting, when he got these other people, then he said, now this is really serious. And actually now we can say he's at the use process. He's very, very excited. His staff are very well motivated, and they're saying actually the new step process makes things easier for them. I'm yet to hear the story of the accountant, because I have not met the accountant. But they are at the use level, and they're actually utilizing it. They're getting the information and it's feeding back. So in terms of transition, for example, for the leadership, I think it's very important to communicate. And communication is not just writing the email. It's not just going to write and talk with the staff. Your own actions really matters. Because we used to send like monthly newsletters to all entire staff. This is what is happening in the Child Wellbeing Project. This is the new data processes. These ADPs are the ones who've been chosen. people's JDs have changed, but you know, there was fears. People are going to get sacked because now the JD has changed. But you find that at the end of it, the revised JDs were actually implemented, and we had to have interviews at the manager level. We have to have different interviews at the sponsorship officer level because we needed to have key people with the key skills. What we thank God for is nobody actually left the organization to go home. Now, the people who were not IT specialists, they were either given different roles, but it really helped the organization to really get this change to happen. So it's very, very important for the leadership to communicate and also to live the change, because I can be saying one thing and I act differently. And people watch, the staff really watch, what are you doing? Are you going to consistently talk about the sponsor, the national director? Are you going to talk about RC monitoring? What are you telling us? And are you actually participating? So it actually brought some heat also at the leadership level, because the director role was now put very, very clearly, child monitoring. And they really had now to start absorbing in that. And it was like, you know, they say it is not my direct report. I am not held directly responsible. But there's that caption that as a director, you are responsible for. So you're being held. How responsible are you for the section that you're supposed to be responsible? And that cuts across down to these people. So that's how we helped the ADP manager to transition. He was very angry, but he's now at the youth stage, he's committed, and we are going to have the next meeting in January to really finalize the second phase of the 8 ADPs to really see what are the lessons learned. Then we decide to scale it over to the rest of the 61. Thank you.